Hi, this is Joshua, and I head the Faculty of Keys and Piano at PS School of Music, a school of music run by musicians. I hope and trust that all of you are doing well and staying safe, and that your families are doing well too. Firstly, a big thank you to you all for your continued support and patronage of PS School of Music, be it as a well-wisher, a customer, but most importantly, as a student of music or dance at PS School of Music. The band Perfect Strangers started this school a little over 2 years ago, around the time of the onset of the COVID pandemic, with a vision to provide quality music education taken conveniently from the safety and convenience of your home. And today here we are, 2 years later, 200 plus students strong, operating in 15 countries and counting, with a dedicated team of 20 plus teachers and counting, and across 9 faculties of music and dance. And the vision remaining unchanged: we provide quality music education taken from the convenience of home. All of our students, be it studying music or dance, are learning conveniently from home. Today I'm here to talk to you all about an important yet a very elusive topic, and that is practice. My hope is that by the end of the session today, I'm able to share some of my practical tips and some pragmatic knowledge about practice, something that has helped me in my approach to practice in the past 20 odd years of my musical life, be it initially as a student of music and eventually as a pro musician gigging, that is, a performing or recording artist. Firstly, let us acknowledge that anything needs practice and time to get it perfect, let alone music, be it you're cooking, be it you're playing a sport, or be it just any other skill you're trying to acquire. It doesn't happen instantaneously. It needs time and it needs effort. And it's no different with music. Irrespective of how much theoretical knowledge you might acquire in a subject, it is of little or no yield until that knowledge is put into sweat on the instrument by what we call in the music world as shedding it. And until that happens, only then will your practice actually be fruitful. So we often hear the common complaint from parents saying that my child doesn't practice enough, or I need to force my child to practice, or he doesn't sit every day in the instrument. Or for some of our adult students out there, the common one we have is, I just didn't get time to practice this week, family commitments, work came up, blah, blah, blah. And these things are bound to happen. These are part and parcel of our everyday life. But we need to navigate through these challenges, and we need to still understand and acknowledge why it's important to practice, why it's important for you, and we need to learn to embrace it. This is irrespective of whether you learn guitar, piano, vocals, or anything else, any other instrument for that matter. The fundamentals and basics of practice stays the same. So today, I'm here to talk about some important elements of practice and dispel some of the myths around practice. Firstly, why is practice so important? We can all acknowledge that it is critical to build our competency in any skill that one needs to practice. So this would mean also acknowledging the fact that you don't practice only 10 minutes before a class or 1 week before an assessment, but you make it what is more of a continuous or a habitual process. Only then will it actually yield a result. This also means that you need to be very patient with yourself. This is something I often tell my students. Perseverance and patience is key. Often we tend to give up very easily if something isn't working out in a certain period of time, and we tend to get impatient with ourselves. And that's the first mistake that we make. Giving yourself time and practicing something hard enough means it will eventually happen. Do it another day if you have to. Defer it from that day to another day. Do it at a later time, at a different time of the day, but do not give up. If you practice something 4 times and it has not turned out well enough, give yourself a break, do it another 4 times on a different day, and it's bound to happen. If you practice something hard enough or well enough a certain amount of times, it's bound to become force of habit eventually at some point. This could be whether you're playing a scale or whether you're playing a Beethoven or Mozart piece. To go to the next level, you need to give yourself that amount of time and persevere. So the first important thing is have patience with yourself and never give up. The second important thing about practice is you need to feel like practicing, which means you need to embrace it. On a lighter note, something I ask my students when I hear parents saying that my child doesn't practice enough is, I call the child and I ask, do you need a reminder every day to go and play with your friends in the evening at 5 o'clock? Or do you need a reminder to go and eat a chocolate or an ice cream from the fridge? And they say no. And I say, why? And they say, it's because I love doing that. And so it should be no different with music. You should learn to love. Of course, love music is one aspect of it, but also love and acknowledge why practice will make you a better musician. And only then you will do it without being forced to do it. Nobody likes to be forced into doing something, right? And music and practice is no different. So be it or make it an intrinsic part of you, something that you embrace doing and something that you understand the importance of. Now, how do you get yourself to do good, optimal practice when you do sit at the instrument? Let's look at a few tips. The first one is to sit for an optimal amount of time. Sitting long hours at the instrument doesn't mean that you're practicing well. That's practicing hard, but are you practicing smart? So within the time that you have at the instrument, make sure that it's dedicated, undivided attention time that you're spending with the instrument. And it doesn't have to be long hours. It can be a small amount of time, but you can organize yourself within that time to do a very fruitful, good power practice session. So practicing hard and practicing smart are two quite different things. The second thing is, how much time do I sit per day for practice? Do I sit for 30 minutes? Do I sit for 60 minutes? That comes back to the point I just raised earlier. It's different for different people. If you can spend 30 minutes a day and that's the amount of span of attention of time you can spend per day, but dedicated time, then that's it for you. If for somebody else it's 60 minutes, then that is it for them, right? So it varies from person to person. The second point is to sit at an hour that is most comfortable for you or that you are most comfortable at. For example, sit at a time when you're at your peak concentration, when you are well hydrated just after you've had a meal, etc., or any time that you feel is possible with the least amount of distraction or any other possibility of getting deviated. And that would be or result in a very fruitful session. So sitting at the optimal amount of time and at the right time and hour of the day for you is something that you need to figure out. Parents often ask me, what is the best time or ideal time for my kid to practice? And I say, I don't have an answer. I remember this one parent saying that, I want my kid to get up at 7 and practice. And I say, what time does your kid normally get up? And they say 8 or 8:30. So I said, would you want your kid to practice when their brain is still asleep? And, and that's when they realized that, probably it's not the best idea because that was not the time she was able to practice the best. And so for that kid, maybe immediately after lunch worked. I know an adult student for that matter who just before going to bed said that they feel like practicing the most, when they've had their meal and just before going to sleep. So it is different for different people. All of us are wired differently. We have different biological clocks. So choose the time of the day that is most suited and best for you. The important thing is have a disciplined approach. This is the third point. Have a disciplined approach when it comes to practicing. What could a typical practice regimen include? Typically for a well-rounded practice, I try and adopt what I call the 20-20-20 rule, which is that you spend 1/3 of your time doing warm-ups. Never give up on doing warm-ups. Whatever level you are at, be it at an intermediate level, beginner or advanced level, the most important thing is your warm-ups. Be it your scales, finger exercises. Maybe at more initial levels, you might do finger exercise and scales. Maybe at a more advanced level, or something that I do is I take a backing track and I just play alongside it in which I apply things that I've learned theoretically. So, key is to not give up on your warm-ups. The second 1/3 or the second third of time rather, you spend in actually doing pieces or concepts that you've learned in a class that your teacher has taught you, your faculty has taught you, and you're putting it down into practice on the instrument. And of course, that's again important. And that's the part that we often call as the homework or assignment work. But yeah, it's obviously part of your constant learning process. And the last 20 minutes is something where you should try to be innovative at the instrument. And only then will you actually distinguish yourself from anybody else playing the instrument is, how do I innovate at the instrument? It's very easy to just take what the teacher has taught you and just spit it out in the next class and say, wow, I've done this, the teacher's happy, you're happy, everything's done. But where can you make a difference? Can you write a tune on your own? Can you then go and transcribe it? Write on the sheet music for it, take a software and write on the music for it. Or a tune that you've heard online, can you try to just, ear train yourself to be able to come and play it on your instrument and put it down and try to play it? Is there a song that you've listened online and you want to, maybe just try chords alongside it? So there are a myriad variety of things that you can do in terms of applying and innovating an instrument. So spend some time trying to be innovative. And one thing I can tell you, at least at Perfect Strangers School of Music, is no teacher is ever going to discourage you for that and say, why did you try something new? Or why did you do only what I told you? We love innovative, and we love people who are innovative and we encourage it. So try to be innovative with your instrument as much as possible. There's nothing like making a mistake. It's just about the right way or wrong or not right way of doing something, but being innovative is key. The most important one of all is, if you get fatigued, do not continue. At some point, we get what is known to be as fatigue, mental fatigue, or just tiredness of practicing, maybe finger tiredness, etc., which could set in more advanced levels. But the point is, when you get fatigued, do not continue. Take a break, or just defer your practice another day, perfectly fine, but do not continue at that point. Adopt a 20-10 rule if you have to, which means that you practice for 20 minutes and for 10 minutes you distract yourself doing something else and come back and practice. But do not continue when you're not in a position to do so. So I hope those pointers were useful. A few weeks back, we ran a survey in which parents gave us some pointers around what they want to hear during this session, and a few parents did respond, so thank you for that. I have them here in front of me, and I thought I'll address a couple of those points. I think a couple have already been addressed earlier. The one that came was making practice habitual and not last minute. I think I covered this earlier, where I said that yes, one needs to embrace practice and understand its importance and make it something that's systemic. What I would probably say is try not to complete everything in one session. Always leave something for the next day. I know I may be kind of jumping the gun and talking of at a more advanced level here. But supposing you have written a melody, a melody line, maybe the next day think about how I'd probably add chords to harmonize it, The third day think about me probably putting lyrics to it for all you know, right? So that's how you can keep something always interesting and a continuous process, okay? So that's one. The next one that came is, how do you keep it challenging? Yes, firstly, I would say keep it challenging. Okay, it's very important to keep raising the bar. Again, now let me talk about the other side of the spectrum. Let's say you're a beginner and you're doing scales, and you've done it with, I'm sure, what we know is a metronome, right? And if you're practicing some runs on the guitar or say scales on the piano, and you've done it at a 60 BPM tempo, don't be happy with 60 BPM and say, wow, I've achieved it all. Always think that, what's the next level? Can I bump up the tempo by 10 BPM at 70, 80, 90? Can I keep going at higher tempos and keep challenging myself? The example of writing the song comes earlier. If I've written a riff, can I challenge myself to write something more in that? Maybe put a sound structure to it, verse, chorus, maybe put some chords and harmonize it. So keep raising the bar, keep it challenging for yourself, and then you'll also keep it interesting for yourself. And the third point is, should we have practice goals? Yes, it's good to set goals, but my personal view is not to get discouraged when you do not, or if rather you do not hit these goals. Not when, but if you do not hit those goals. Okay, again, it probably comes back to a point that I spoke about earlier, saying, do not give up very easily. So it comes back to the point on goals. If you've set certain targets or goals for yourself, and if for whatever reason you weren't able to achieve it, don't hit yourself hard for it. But just remember that you can always extend that goal and, in terms of time, or maybe decrease the goal in terms of complexity, and you can still achieve it, right? So good to set goals as long as you're not very hard fast about it and you don't beat yourself up for it for not achieving something. Some typical goals that parents tend to set very often are about answering exams. As a school, we don't discourage it. But at the same time, we don't mandate it because it has to be something intrinsic, which the student wants to do. So that's one possible goal that students can set, is giving exams at certain points in time from certain boards, etc. So to sum it up, keep getting inspired from listening to a lot of music. Listening is key. My personal belief is what you listen is what comes out of you when you're playing. That's what has inspired me in my music writing and playing. And of course, keep practicing. We have a student showcase that's coming up very shortly, which will be somewhere around the mid of November, and we shall keep you posted of the dates shortly. And you'll see some of our very talented students from across faculties performing in a 1 hour online event. So stay tuned for that. Thank you again, and we look forward to your continued patronage of PS School of Music. Please let your friends and family also know about us, and please help us to spread the word. Thank you.